So I'm talking in Vancouver with Marc van der Chijs. And Marc, I've been meeting in China when he was doing Tudao, and now he's in Vancouver, and he's a Bitcoin slash blockchain investor. And I'm really happy to report that he will come to the Blockchain Innovation Conference in at June 22nd. Marc, I'm really happy to get you there. What are the biggest trends in blockchain investments at the moment?
There's a lot of things are happening. What you basically see is that I think there was a bit of a hype in blockchain companies about a year ago. Then it cooled down a bit, and now what you're seeing is that a lot of companies actually are bringing products to market. So the hype is over, I think, a little bit. You still read about it, but less than a year ago. Mm-hmm. And now you see the real products getting to market. In many fields, actually, banks are using them for transfer of money. Companies are using them for as distributed databases. Mm-hmm. Startups are using them for all kinds of things, from putting diamonds on the blockchain to tools to create trust between companies. So there's a lot of things happening.
And it's finally the first products are coming to the market. Well, one of the things you were talking to me about, which I thought was really interesting, was a logistical blockchain application that companies who work with Foxconn, who is one of the most complicated logistical supplier networks of the world, they use blockchain to basically say that they have a relationship with specific suppliers. How does that work?
Yeah, so the way it works is that Foxconn has, of course, many suppliers. And these suppliers also have suppliers, and those sub-suppliers also have suppliers. And the suppliers that work directly with Foxconn can easily get credit from a bank. Mm-hmm. But the ones that are sub-suppliers, or even lower in that layer, have problems doing this. Mm-hmm. And basically, through the blockchain, they're able to show that they are indeed sub-suppliers for specific products that Foxconn produces. And so they can use a blockchain tool to sort of to prove this. And the way it works actually is that they work with a peer-to-peer lending company that actually provides the credit to these companies.
Okay, and so it's a peer-to-peer lending company who, which we all know. I mean, is big and was hyped and is now basically maybe on the way back or basically are starting to prove themselves. And that lending company is helping suppliers of Foxconn to get credit because they have a certain reputation, and the reputation is kept on the blockchain, and the company has the ability to prove through that they have this relationship with Foxconn, and not only with Foxconn, but with the speakers that they do for Apple, for example, work on the iPad, and that they can use to get credit.
That's how it works. Yeah. So for that part that they work on for Foxconn, for that part they can get credit, and that goes on the that basically are loans on the peer-to-peer lending platform that people can invest in, and that's how they get their credits.
Yeah. Last year, you were with Richard Branson on an island talking to a lot of different people. I mean, Branson was really interested into it. So you say that was a little bit of a hype. What kind of investments have you been doing since then, and what do you see as one of the most interesting things, markets which are really coming up? Because this year with our conference, we want to focus on practical examples.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty busy with a blockchain company that I set up myself, and I also co-founded a Bitcoin investment trust in Canada. Basically, a bit like an ETF, I would say, like an electronically traded fund, where people buy shares in the fund, and these shares represent bitcoins or a small part of a bitcoin. Mm-hmm. So basically making it easier for people to buy bitcoin and also easier to keep the bitcoin safe. I think one of the biggest problems for people who want to buy bitcoin is that they just don't know how it works. And if they know how it works, they're afraid that they get hacked and that they lose their bitcoins. Mm-hmm. And this makes it easier. This is a fund where people can just buy shares, and it will eventually be listed here on the Toronto Stock Exchange.
Yeah. Okay, this ETF, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because last Friday there was supposed to come an ETF which allowed every fund in the world to invest in bitcoins in a normally financial orchestrated way, and it failed because the the control organization. What was it called?
The SEC. Yeah, SEC.
SEC finally didn't approve it. But you say the moment that normal financial institutions can invest in blockchain and in Bitcoin applications, then you think the price of the Bitcoin will go up tremendously, huh?
Yeah, I mean it's pure supply and demand. The supply of Bitcoin is fixed, so if demand goes up, the price goes up. And I think once a big ETF launches like the one that the Winklevoss brothers are planning to bring to market,
What
hundreds of
was the
millions
name
of
of
dollars.
those brothers?
The Winklevoss brothers.
Are these those Facebook
Yeah,
guys, the Facebook investors? They wanted to set up
yeah,
a Bitcoin investment fund so that
that's
everybody
for
could
those
invest
guys.
in
Yeah,
Bitcoin.
yeah, yeah.
So they haven't got permission yet. But you think that moment that will happen, that the demand will go up tremendously.
Yeah. Then you see an exponential change in prices. That's what I expect. I mean, if nothing else happens, I mean, right now the whole Bitcoin world is in a bit of a crisis since the past 2 days, because a hard fork may occur. There are two groups basically within Bitcoin that want to go in a different direction, and that's has a negative effect on the prices right now. But I think we'll solve it eventually.
Yeah, okay.
But
But
I
that
mean, there's
has
always
been going
yeah.
above the market for a long time. But you think it's now really happening? Is it now
Now
because
yeah.
the proposed fork had 25% of the miners? But what is happening now? What's the most latest news?
Well, basically, Roger Ver, Bitcoin Jesus is his nickname, put his full weight behind Bitcoin Unlimited, and also his Bitcoin.com domain name is behind it now. And they're trying to get the Chinese miners to sign up under Bitcoin Unlimited. And if that works, it's going to be negative. I think we're going to get two different kinds of Bitcoins: Bitcoin Unlimited and the Bitcoin Classic or whatever you call it. I don't know what's going to happen. We'll find out over the next couple of days. But it's not a good thing. It shows that the Bitcoin community is not able to find solutions for problems.
Yeah. Okay. So what we had with the Ethereum fork, which happened last year directly after our conference because of a hack into the smart contract, finally about the block size is now coming to a close. But you think it's not going to be a peaceful project? It's going to be two different. There's going to be two different bitcoins.
Yeah, I'm worried about it. Yeah. But we'll see. It's Bitcoin, things change every day and every week, and it's interesting as well to see.
Are you investing more in the applications which make use of the public Bitcoin blockchain or of private blockchains?
It's a combination of both. But if private blockchains are involved, I always make sure that they are anchored on a public blockchain, because a private blockchain, is less secure, can theoretically be hacked. But if you anchor it on a public blockchain, that doesn't work. Then, for example, every hour you anchor it on a public one, and that means only within that hour you could theoretically do something and change it. After the hour, it's locked again. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the private part is only if you have a huge amount of very fast transactions, but you prefer to have it locked into a public blockchain. And doesn't matter if it's Ethereum or Bitcoin.
Well, Bitcoin is the most secure one, so that is always the best one. But I mean, Ethereum is good as well. It's pretty big nowadays. So yeah.
Okay. Well, when you come in June the 22nd to the Netherlands, we're going to have a breakfast session with a couple of investors who really want to meet you. A couple of companies want to meet you, and also you're going to do a keynote, and we're also participating in a vertical business track. Are you doing a lot of business in Europe at the moment, or is it mostly Asia where you're
no, from? Hardly anything in Europe. It's I focus actually on North America, and I do a couple of investments in China as well. But even that I'm kind of reducing. So it's really the focus is really on North America for me at the moment.
So what kind of reputation do we have? What kind of reputation do we have in Europe?
Well, it's more about it's for me. It's more time zone dependent. I don't want to work 24/7 anymore. And working with Europe means getting up very early in the morning to
like now.
To work with the teams.
I got you out of bed
right
on
now,
Sunday morning and say, "Come on, Marc, let's have a quick interview. Let's see what's going on." But you don't want to do that anymore. Europe is too far away in time zones.
it's not that easy to do it. So yeah.
And what do you see from coming from Europe? Because I mean, we have a lot of people enthusiastic about the blockchain too. Of course, all
Yeah.
the big guns and especially also the big investments are coming from America. But do you see some interesting trends happening here too?
Well, I mean, Switzerland is very well known for its open policies for Bitcoin and blockchain. So a lot of the big companies actually that left the US moved to Switzerland and set up their business there. So I think that's a good trend, an important trend. I think other countries sort of missed the boat there. They could have done it as well, but they didn't see the opportunity. If I look in terms of companies, I mean, most Bitcoin companies, blockchain companies are very international. That means they're not focused just on the US or just on China. So I mean, I think there's some good ones in Europe. There's some good ones in North America. There are good ones in China. It's not that Bitcoin is just a US thing.
Yeah. Well, we're going to show you during the conference. We're going to have all kinds of examples from the healthcare industry, the energy, logistics, of course, and fintech.
Yep.
So we'd love to have you around, and we'll see you then on June 22nd. And thanks for getting up so early in the morning in Vancouver.
You're welcome. Looking forward to it. Okay. Thanks, Vincent. Bye.